Yeah, good evening, guys. I think my audible, I'm audible, I think so. And let's start the webinar as well. Welcome back to the webinar. I'm so glad to see you, many familiar faces here today. And this is Shyam from business team of GeoPits. Let me introduce about the GeoPits guys. GeoPits started in 2017. We act as a partner and we help the database 24/7. We got a Microsoft partner in data platforms like Microgen and NewsGen, and we got recently partner with MongoDB as well, and we got 100+ clients through all over the India, and 45+ employees as well. We are proficient with the Microsoft and SQL and MongoDB as well, and any type of a database, we are there to help you. And this is about the geopits as well. And today's the topic of the webinar is data masking. I think from here, Deepika, you can take it out and you can share the PPT as well. I'm just stop my PPT and you can share it.
Yeah, Shyam. Thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, sure, Deepika, please.
Let me share my screen.
Yeah, sure. I hope guys all are visible with this PPT, right?
Yeah, I hope my screen is visible.
Guys, please response.
Yeah.
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah. Thank you
Yes,
for. Yeah, Deepika, you can start the webinar.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Myself, Deepika. I'm working as an associate data engineer in GeoPits. So in this session, we'll cover data masking in Microsoft SQL Server, which is used to protect sensitive data in database. So these are the contents of this webinar. Introduction to data masking, purpose of data masking versus encryption, static data masking versus dynamic data masking, types of sensitive data, common data masking techniques, data masking functions, implementation of data masking, the demo, unmasking, limitations and restrictions, conclusion. Okay, so first we'll see what is data masking and the purpose of data masking. So the data masking is like hiding the sensitive information in database by masking the parts of data or the whole data. For example, you have a credit card column in your database. You feel like the credit card's informations are so sensitive data. So you just want to hide the data. Okay. So now with the data masking, you could only show the last 4 digits of the data, or you can hide the entire data with XXX or 0. So functions are there to achieve different kind of masking. So we'll see those later on the session. So let's move on to the purpose of data masking. So we are doing this data masking to protect sensitive data while allowing certain other users still working with the database. So with data masking, you could only show the masked data to most of the users who are working with the database for developing, testing, or for any other analytic purposes. And you can only show the data without any masking to certain users who actually need the data by giving them a certain permissions. So yeah, this is the purpose of data masking. So before deep dive into the data masking, let's discuss about the difference between data masking and encryption. So we can clearly discuss about the data masking. Okay, this data masking and encryption, both methods aim to protect data from unauthorized user only, but they are approaching that in very own way. So we'll see about that. First, data masking. As we discussed in the last 2 slides, data masking is protecting sensitive data by replacing or hide the data. So with this masking techniques, we can achieve different kinds of measure masking with functions. So here you can see the So here you can see the some of the masking techniques. These are the techniques which mostly commonly used in data masking. So with this masking techniques, we can achieve the data masking for the respective data. And okay, when it comes to encryption, it completely encrypt the data with unreadable format. So the encrypted data is stored in the database in encrypted form only. But data masking is not like that. When a non-privileged user try to retrieve the data, for that moment only SQL Server will mask the data and show the masked data. In database, it is stored in a unmasked form only. But in encryption, in database also, it's stored in a encrypted form only. So here you can see the some of the encrypted methods. Yeah. So unmasking. So here is the unmasking. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, Deepika, you're
Yeah.
audible. You can start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In unmasking, we can give the certain permission to the user. So we can grant the unmask permission to the user. With that, we can unmask and see the data. Here, encryption, we need to get the decryption key. Then only we can decrypt and view the data. So this is the difference between data masking and encryption. So let's move on to the data masking types: static data masking and dynamic data masking. So, static data masking will mask the sensitive data permanently in the database. So, masking is happening in at the database level. So, in data masking, in static data masking, masking is happening at the database level. So, it just replaces the original data with masked data permanently and store it in the database. But in dynamic data masking, the masking is happening at the execution time. In database, it will stored as a unmasked original data only. So authorized user can see the data when they try to retrieve. Unauthorized user can't able to see the data when they try to retrieve. They can only see the masked data. So in this session, we are focused on dynamic data masking only. So now let's move on to the types of sensitive data. So being aware of the types of sensitive data, we can pick the suitable masking technique for the respective data. So the first one is personally identifiable information. It includes any information then that can identify an individual, like name, phone number, email number, address, like that. The next one is financial information. This includes account number, credit card details, account balance, one person's transaction history. Uh, yeah, these things comes under financial information category. Next, protected health information (PHI). This includes medical records of one person and their identifier like moles, marks. So health condition, treatment history. These things comes under protected health information category. The fourth one is trade secrets and intellectual property. So these includes trade secrets and proprietary algorithm. Proprietary algorithm is nothing but it's a specific, very own computational process, or we can say process or rules that is developed or owned by one person or one organization. They only own the rights for that algorithm. So these data comes under this category. The next one is legal and compliance data. So this category includes legal case details, client communications, like that. So next one is authentication and authorization data. This includes usernames, passwords, access keys, access tokens, access numbers, like that. The next one is geolocation and GPS data. So current location, traveling history, These kind of location related data comes under this category. The next one is social media data, profiles, posts, comments, like that. So these are the types of sensitive data. Uh, yeah, we can move to the next slide. So, okay, so let's discuss about data masking techniques and functions. And here is the most very commonly used techniques: a default, email masking, randomization, partial masking, or a custom string. So let's see one by one, and side by side we'll do the implementation also. Hope my SQL Server window is visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah, okay. So for this implementation, we are going to use the Adventure Works database. In the database, we are going to use the this employee table because which has all the combination of data types, so we can explore it. So the first one is default function, which is very basic. So we are going to do the implement this default technique with its very own function default. So here you can see all the data. This is the query for data masking. Alter table, the table name, alter column, the column name, add masked with function. Here you can give any function that you want. First, we'll execute this. Here I took the column phone number. Here the phone column is a string data type because which has the hyphen in it. So it is not an integer here. So it is a string here. So we have executed. We'll see the data. We'll see the result now. Here we can see the original data because as a SA user, we only created data masking. So we can see the original data. Now what we are going to do is let's create another user and we'll give the data reader permission. With that permission, the user only can see the data. They can't able to modify or change anything into the database. So let's create the another user. We'll just give test user. We'll give it the password. And let's map the user for the adventure work database. And we'll give the only data reader permission. Okay, yeah. Now we have created a one user with, who only have the data reader permission. Let's try to retrieve the data from that user. Now let's log into that user. Yeah, we have logged in. See, when we try to retrieve the masked data from other user who don't have any permission except the data reader permission, he will get a masked data. Yeah. So now let's try this function for the numeric column. Yeah. Now we have executed. Again, from the test user, we are going to get the data. for now you can see the default function giving the XX for the string data type and 0 for the numerical data type. So you could see the default function how treats the different data types. The next we are going to data master date column. We have executed. Again, let's try to get the data from another user. Yeah. Here you could see the default one. So this is how the default function treats the different type of data, string, numeric, and date. So the next that we're going to explore is email function. This is especially for email column, but it also supports the string column. So let's just execute this. And we'll do it too. So here you could see how the email function masks the data. So next we are going to explore is the function random, which is only applicable for numerical columns. It will give random number according to the limit we give. Let's just execute this. Yeah. Actually, the base rate column contains decimal numbers. That's why it gave the random in the decimal only. So here you could see this. Yeah. The fourth one we are going to explore is the partial, which is mainly for the string data types, variable character. Let's just execute this. Yeah, here you could see the masked data. Yeah, here, if you guys notice, here we only gave XX, the prefix one, suffix one. So that's why in result also it gave like in center XX, the suffix one letter and the prefix one letter, suffix one letter. If you want means you can modify this like as you want. If you give two means, yeah. Now you could see the data. The prefix is 0, suffix is 2. So here also you could see this. You can't see any prefix word here, and suffix you can see the 2 word. So yeah, so these are the use case of the 4 functions in data masking. Now let's explore the where condition, update, insert, delete statements with the master columns. We'll see how the master columns interact with these kind of statements. So we'll see that. For this, I'm going to use the table AdventureWorks DB build version. So first, let's try the where condition. In condition, we'll give the masked column. We'll see the result. So yeah, in where condition, we'll give, we need a email address which start with the letter G. So we know the email address, we already masked the column. So in masked column, we are trying to get some data. So this is the result set of our query. So from this, we got to know that SQL Server can search the data in masked column also. Yeah. So the next one, we are going to explore it, the update statement. Here the employee name is last name is Gilbert. Let's try to change as a Johnson. Yeah, because we only gave the data reader permission to the user. So just now we'll give the update permission to the test user. Yeah, we'll give the update also. Now we'll try to update the data. Yeah, we have executed. Now we'll check. Yeah, now the last name is updated. So from this, we got to know that update also working with masking columns. Okay. Yeah, let's try the insert statement. This is the data of this table. Let's try to insert some duplicate version. First, mask this. Will mask this column. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have master column from the SA user who has the privileges. Yeah, now you can see the masked data. Now let's try to insert the data. Before inserting, we have to give the insert permission for the test user. For that, again, we have to go here and give the permission for the test user. This time we are going to give the insert permission. Now let's try to insert. Yeah, it got inserted. Now you can see the again the masked data. So from this we got to know that in masked data column, if we want means we can insert the data also. So now let's try to delete some data from here only. Before delete the data, we have to give the delete permission to the test user, then only we can delete some data. We gave the delete permission. Now we will try to delete the data. Yeah. Now if you see means the data got deleted. So uh, so from this we got to know that we can perform where conditions and other statements like insert, delete, update. We can perform with masking columns. And so the index column also working with data masking. We can mask the index column and we can retrieve the data from that masked column with the statement. So that's it. So the next one is unmasking. So user with already unmask or control permission can view the original data. If they doesn't have the permission, we can grant the unmask permission for them to see the original data. So let's unmask the masked data. So now this is masked. Let's try to unmask. For test user, we'll give unmask permission. Yeah. So after gave the unmask permission to the test user, so we could see the original data. So here we should unmask. So let's move on to the next slide. Yeah. So here are the major restrictions and limitations we should concern about. So first one is only database level permissions. So so the unmasked permission is assigned to a user at the database level so that they can view any masked data in any column in the database. So yeah, the second one is always encrypted column. So data masking won't applicable for always encrypted columns. And the third one is file stream. So the file stream is nothing but it allows to store large documents, files, images on system, but it's not like a data type. But when data masking is but data masking won't interact with the file stream. The fourth one is column set. So it is a common column with the optimized storage for null values. It is especially for to manage null and the zero values. So data masking won't interact with the column set. The fifth one is calculated columns. So about the calculated column is uh, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
You are.
Yeah. In calculated column, in the case of calculated columns, like they are calculated from based on other column. So there is no sense to mask the calculated column. But if the based column also masked column means we can get the masked column, we can mask the calculated column. So the last one is masked columns cannot be used as keys for full text indexes. So the keys full text indexes is used to search full text on character data. So the purpose is full text index search is to achieve effective searching and query the data. So if we mask the complete data, we can't able to use full text index for a search of the data. So masked data won't be directly searchable or unable to text indexing purpose. So that's why data masking won't interact with the key full text indexes. So here are the major restrictions and limitations we should concern about. So let's move on to the pros and cons of the data masking. So the first one is enhanced data privacy and security. So it helps protecting sensitive data by replacing its original data with masked fake one. Through that, it reduces the risk of unauthorized access and data breaches. The second one is ease of implementation. So it's very easy to implement data masking in SQL Server because it has built-in functions, and it is very straightforward for database administrators or developers to manage or change anything in data masking policy. So the third one is maintains data utility. So even after master the data, it is very consistent with its format and characteristics. It ensured that all application can function normally for testing, development, or any analytic purposes without revealing the original data. So the fourth one is mitigate insider threats. Um, so it helps mitigate risks related with insider threats. So any other user with access to the database can only see the masked data, not the actual original information. So the fifth one is facilitates outsourcing and collaboration. Sometimes we need to work with the other users from some other different places, but at the same time we don't want to share our sensitive secret data also. So in that cases, data masking helps us to keep the real data safe while still working with the other user. So these are the pros, and let's see about the cons. Impact on performance. Sometimes when you try to modify the measured data, master data with a huge database, it take extra effort for the system to process it. So this can slow down the process. The second one is limited security against sophisticated attacks. So data masking is just a layer of security. Skilled attackers may find the way to unmask the data and can see the original data. The third one is potential overhead in development and testing. Um, it may take more time and effort to work with masked data compared to using the original one. So in development or testing, it can add extra steps to work with data. So yeah. The fourth one is management complexity. It will be challenging and requires very careful planning and coordination, especially in a large database. Yeah. The fifth one is a risk of over masking. When we work with a very large database, if we try to overmask the data with unsuitable technique, means it might cause to wrong testing scenarios or inaccurable analysis it might cause. So these are the main disadvantages that we should concern about. Yeah, I think end of the session. So I hope this webinar shared the valuable knowledge. Thank you for everyone for being the part of this session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Deepika. Thanks for the fantastic webinar. And guys, I hope the webinar is gonna be very useful. And if you guys want to see the previous webinar which our data engineers has done, I have mentioned the YouTube link in the chat box. You can have a look on that, and you can see what are the webinars are done by our data engineers as well. And you can see what are the things have they done, and what are the various topics have they done. And guys, I also encourage you to visit the geopits.com. The website also is gonna be very useful for. And thank you for attending the fantastic webinar, guys. I hope you see you all for the next upcoming webinar. Thank you all. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining all. Thank you. Hello.